My mom laughed. Your sister's child makes us proud, but yours does not. Then I added calmly, but I'm done paying for people who think like that. You're cut off. My parents froze. And then last Thanksgiving I canceled a $1,400 monthly insurance payment that had been keeping my parents covered for 2 years. And I did it while they were still sitting at my kitchen table, mid-bite into the pot roast I'd spent 4 hours making for them. Why? Because 30 seconds earlier, my mother looked at my 8-year-old daughter Lily and told my father, right in front of her, that she didn't have the spark that my sister's children have. And my father? He laughed. So I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app and canceled the payment right there. My name is Brooke, I'm 36, I live outside Knoxville, Tennessee, and that was the night I finally stopped being the family doormat. But honestly, that was just the beginning of what turned into the most insane 3 months of my life, and I still can't believe how it all ended. Let me give you the full picture because this didn't come out of nowhere. I'm the younger of 2 sisters. My older sister Megan is what my parents Diane and Richard would call the one who got it right. She married her college boyfriend Travis, had 2 kids, Cody and Nora, bought a nice house, does the whole PTA thing. And look, I love my sister. Megan hasn't done anything wrong here. She's a good mom, a solid person, and what I'm about to tell you is not her fault. Remember that because it matters later. My story went differently. I married a guy named Derek when I was 23. We had Lily when I was 27, and by the time she was 3, Derek decided fatherhood was, and I'm quoting, limiting his personal growth. So at 30 I was divorced with a toddler. And from that moment on something changed in how my parents saw me. Not anything they'd ever admit to. Just this shift. Like I'd let the family down somehow. You want to know what really sealed it though? About 2 years after the divorce I started seeing a guy named Paul. Nice enough guy, nothing serious, lasted about 8 months. We broke things off mutually. Zero drama. But my mother treated it like I was running some kind of scandal. She told me on the phone once, totally casual like she was reading a grocery list, maybe you should focus on being a mother instead of chasing after men. Chasing after men. I dated one person. Well, can you even imagine hearing that? And my dad Richard, he's the quiet type but not in a gentle way. More like every word he does say is designed to hit you right in the gut. After Paul and I broke up all he said was, well, at least Megan's got things figured out. That was it. That was his entire response to his daughter going through a breakup. Father of the year, right? Now here's what you need to know about me because it explains why it took so long for me to snap. I was, the ultimate people pleaser. The fixer. The one who shows up no matter what. Every Thanksgiving, I drove 3 hours to them. Every Sunday, I called. When Dad needed his roof fixed, who found the contractor and covered half the cost? Not Megan. Me. When Mom had her gallbladder out 2 years ago, who took a week off work to stay with her, sleep on her couch, make sure she took her meds on time? Me. Megan sent flowers and a card. A card. And nobody blinked. Nobody said, hey, maybe Megan could pitch in. Because that's not how it works in my family. Megan is the golden child and I'm the one who earns her place by being useful. Do you know what that feels like? To be loved conditionally based on what you do for people and then watch your sister get loved just for existing? Yeah. It's exactly as fun as it sounds. So let's get to Thanksgiving. I'd actually been looking forward to it. Foolish, I know. I made Mom's pot roast recipe, set the table with actual cloth napkins, and Lily picked wildflowers from the backyard and arranged them in a mason jar as a centerpiece. She was so excited. She'd been working on this watercolor painting of a sunset over a lake. Her art teacher, Mrs. Whitfield, told me Lily's one of the best in the class, and she wanted to show her grandparents. The first hour was fine. We talked about Megan's kitchen renovation because of course we did. Dad went on about how Cody made the junior varsity baseball team, and I smiled and said all the right things because I'm genuinely happy for my nephew. No issues there. Then Lily brought out her painting. Held it up with both hands, this big hopeful smile on her face. My mom barely glanced at it. That's nice, honey, she said in the same voice you'd used to acknowledge a sneeze. Then she turned to my dad and said, it's a shame she doesn't have the spark Megan's kids have. You can just tell the difference. Lily heard every word. She didn't cry. My kid is tougher than I am, honestly, but I watched her face just shut down. Like a door closing. She set the painting on the table, walked to her room and quietly closed the door. And my father chuckled. Actually chuckled. Like my mother had made a witty comment about the weather. I'm going to be honest with you. Have you ever felt something physically break inside your chest? Not your heart. Something deeper. Something that had been holding you together for years and it just snapped? That's what happened to me in that moment. But I didn't scream. I didn't throw the pot roast. Although between you and me I thought about it. I put my fork down. Looked right at my mother. And I said very quietly, That was a cruel thing to say about your granddaughter. Mom's eyes went wide. Genuine surprise. Oh, Brooke, don't be dramatic, I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you said, Mom. Dad jumped right in, classic Richard style. Your mother was making an observation. Don't be so sensitive. An observation. About an 8-year-old child. His own granddaughter. At her own table. So here's where it gets real. I looked at both of them and said, for the past 2 years I've paid your supplemental health insurance. Every month. $1,400. I covered half the roof repair. I took a week off work for Mom's surgery while Megan sent a greeting card. I drive to you every holiday. I call every Sunday. And this is what I get. You sit at my table, eat food I made, and tell my daughter she's less than. Silence. Total absolute silence. Then I picked up my phone, opened my banking app, and right there, right in front of them, I canceled the recurring insurance payment. I turned the screen around so they could see it. You're cut off, I said. The insurance. The help. The Sunday phone calls. Everything. Until you can treat Lily like she matters as much as Cody and Nora. Do you think that was too much? Honestly, tell me, because sometimes at 2 in the morning I wonder if I went too far. But then I remember my daughter's face and I know I didn't. My mom immediately turned on the guilt tears. Brooke, after everything we've done for you. What, Mom? What have you done for me? Name one thing in the last 5 years. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Opened it again. Nothing came out. My dad stood up, pushed his chair back so hard it scraped the floor and said, we're leaving. And just like that they were gone. 3-hour drive home without finishing dinner. Didn't even say goodbye to Lily. Now here's where things took a turn I never expected. Because when my parents got home that night, my mother did something that honestly shocked me. She called Megan. Told her some version of the story, I'm sure heavily edited in her favor. But Megan, and this is why I told you to remember that my sister isn't the villain here. Megan called me. And what she told me completely changed everything. Plus, there's someone else in my family who was about to get involved. Someone my parents absolutely did not want finding out about any of this. And when she did find out, oh, trust me, things escalated in a way nobody saw coming. I'll tell you everything because we're just getting started. So after my parents drove off into the night without even saying goodbye to Lily, I just sat there, staring at cold pot roast, wilting wildflowers, and 2 empty chairs. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was just exhausted. The kind of exhausted that sleep can't fix. Then my phone buzzed. Megan. Now honestly my stomach dropped. I figured Mom had already called her, crying, spinning the whole story to make me the villain who ruined Thanksgiving. And yeah, Mom had called her. But what Megan said, I did not see it coming. Brooke, what happened tonight? I told her everything. The comment about Lily. Dad laughing. Me canceling the insurance. And I braced myself for the lecture, the classic you know how Mom is speech. Instead Megan went quiet. Then she said, I'm honestly surprised it took you this long. Excuse me, what? I'm not blind, Brooke. I see how they treat you differently. I've seen it for years. I just didn't want to rock the boat, and that's on me. I'm sorry. You guys. My sister, the golden child, the favorite, was apologizing to me. She told me her husband, Travis, brings it up all the time. That he thinks what Mom and Dad do to me is messed up. That what Mom said about Lily was disgusting. I cried. Full-on ugly cried at my Thanksgiving table. Because I never blamed Megan. But I also never thought she noticed. Finding out she actually saw what was happening all these years. That hit harder than any insult my parents ever threw at me. Megan said she talked to our parents. I told her don't bother. She said, you've been carrying this alone too long. Let me try. So I let her. And you want to guess how that went? Olympic-level deflection from our parents. That's how. Mom cried and said I humiliated them. Dad, the man who let me pay $1,400 a month for 2 years without once saying thank you, accused me of financially manipulating them. And when Megan told them the comment about Lily was wrong, Mom's response was, we treat the girls exactly the same. Brooke is just more sensitive. The sensitive card. If I had $1 for every time my mother used that line instead of admitting she was hurtful, I could have funded their insurance for another decade. After that, about a week of silence. My parents didn't call, which was honestly a relief. Lily seemed okay. Kids are tougher than we think. But one night I caught her putting that watercolor painting face down in her desk drawer. I told her, that painting is beautiful. Anyone who can't see that has a problem with their eyes, not your art. She gave me a half smile that said she wanted to believe me but wasn't quite there. That gutted me more than anything my parents said. Then on Wednesday my phone rang at work. The caller ID said, Grandma June. My grandmother. My mother's mother. 81 years old, lives in Chattanooga with my grandfather Earl. Now Grandma June is a completely different breed of woman. Raised 4 kids, buried a son. My Uncle Randall car accident at 19, and she does not play games. She'll hug you until your back cracks and then tell you straight to your face if your potato salad needs salt. And here's an important detail. Grandma June and my mom have always had a complicated relationship. My mom spent her whole life chasing June's approval and never quite catching it. Which honestly probably explains a lot about how mom treats me, doesn't it? Funny how patterns repeat. Brooke Ellen, what is going on with your mother? That was Grandma June's opening line. What did mom tell you? I asked carefully. Your mother didn't tell me anything. Megan called me. Megan went over our parents' heads and called in the big gun. I didn't know whether to be grateful or terrified. Grandma June said she wanted to come visit me and Lily that weekend. I said of course. You don't say no to June. Nobody does. What she did not mention was that she had zero intention of just visiting me. She had a plan. And that plan included a detour. Saturday morning I'm cleaning, Lily's making a welcome sign and I get a text from Megan. Heads up. Grandma went to mom and dad's first. My heart literally stopped. I called Megan. She said Grandma June and Grandpa Earl showed up at mom and dad's house unannounced about an hour earlier. She only knew because dad called Travis in a panic. My father, the man who shows zero emotion, called my brother-in-law in a panic. That tells you everything. Grandma June arrived at my house later that afternoon. She hugged Lily for 2 solid minutes, asked to see the watercolor painting. So picture this. It's a random Tuesday evening. Lily's doing homework at the kitchen table, I'm folding laundry and there's a knock at my door. No text. No call. Just a knock. I opened it and there was my mother. Diane. Standing on my porch with no makeup on. Which, if you knew my mother, you'd understand is basically the equivalent of showing up naked. This is a woman who puts on lipstick to check the mail. Her eyes were swollen. She'd clearly been crying. Not the performance kind. The real kind. And she was holding something, a small gift bag with tissue paper sticking out the top. She looked at me and said, I'm not here to make excuses. I'm here because I need you to know that I hear you. And I need to say something to Lily. Now I want to be honest with you. My first instinct was to close the door. Seriously. Because I had spent the last few weeks building this wall inside myself brick by brick and it felt safe behind that wall. And here was my mother trying to knock on it and every part of me screamed, don't let her in. She'll just hurt you again. But I looked at her face. And I saw something I had never, not once in 36 years, seen in my mother's eyes before. Shame. Not embarrassment. Not the I got caught look. She'll shame. The kind that sits deep in your chest and won't leave. So I stepped aside and let her in. Would you have done the same? Honestly, I'm still not sure I made the right call. But I did it. Lily looked up from her homework and froze. She didn't say hi. Didn't smile. Just watched my mom the way a kid watches a dog they're not sure about. And that broke my heart because 6 months ago, Lily would have run to hug her grandmother. My parents did that. They turned my daughter cautious. My mom walked over to the table slowly like she was approaching something fragile, which in a way she was. She crouched down so she was eye level with Lily and said, Lily, your grandma said something terrible. Something I never should have said. Your painting was beautiful and you are talented and special and I was wrong. I'm so sorry. Lily just looked at her. Quiet. Then she said, and this is pure Lily, you made me feel like I wasn't good enough. 8 years old and she said that. Straight and clear, no hesitation. I almost lost it right there. My mother's face crumbled. She nodded and said, I know I did. And I'm going to work very hard to make sure I never make you feel that way again. Then she handed Lily the gift bag. Inside was a set of professional-grade watercolor paints. Not the cheap kids kind, real ones. The kind you'd buy for someone whose art you actually take seriously. Lily's eyes went wide. She looked at me, looked at my mom and said, Thank you, Grandma. Quiet, but she meant it. She didn't hug her. Wasn't ready for that yet. But she said thank you and for that moment it was enough. After Lily took her new paints to her room, my mom and I sat at the kitchen table. And he talked. Really talked. Not the deflecting, excuse-making version of my mother I'd known my whole life. A different version. She told me that after Grandma June slapped her, still can't believe that happened, she spent days just sitting with it. She said June's words about making her cold, about the pattern repeating, wouldn't leave her head. She said she'd been calling her pastor, a woman named Reverend Tate, and talking to her almost daily. And Reverend Tate apparently told her something that stuck. You can't love your children differently and then act surprised when the one you neglected stops coming around. My mom looked at me and said, I have loved you and Megan differently. I know that now. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend I don't know why. When you got divorced, I was scared. I was scared because my own mother always told me that a woman who can't keep her family together has failed. And instead of rejecting that, instead of being better, I turned it on you. I punished you for something that wasn't your fault. You guys. I sat there and listened to my mother take accountability for the first time in my entire life. No, but. No, however. No pivot to make herself the victim. Just ownership. I cried. She cried. It was messy and ugly and real. Then she said the thing I didn't expect. She said, I want to go to family counseling. With you. I already looked into it. There's a therapist in Knoxville named Dr. Prescott who specializes in mother-daughter relationships. I'll pay for it. I'll drive to you. Whatever it takes. My mother. Diane. The woman who once told me therapy was for people who enjoy complaining, asked me to go to family counseling. With her. I said yes. I mean, what else could I say? He was trying. Really trying. And after 36 years of waiting for this moment, I wasn't going to slam the door when it finally arrived. But I also said, what about Dad? Her face tightened. Your father is your father. I can't make him change. I've talked to him. Megan's talked to him. Your grandmother nearly took his head off. He won't budge. He thinks this whole thing has been blown out of proportion, and he's angry that I'm, in his words, giving in. Giving in. Like apologizing to your daughter and granddaughter for being cruel is some kind of surrender. That's Richard for you. Now here's the part that was really hard. Because even though my mom was standing in my kitchen showing more growth than I'd ever seen from her, my dad was doing the opposite. And I had to make a decision about what to do with that. Megan called me a few days later and told me Dad was digging in. He told her that Grandma June had poisoned everyone against him, and that I was tearing the family apart over nothing. Over nothing. His granddaughter being told she's less than, that's nothing to him. Megan said she tried one more time to reason with him, and he told her to mind her own business. Megan, his favorite daughter, and he told her to mind her own business. That's how deep his stubbornness runs. So about 2 weeks after my mom's visit, I made a decision. And this is the part where some of you might disagree with me, and that's okay. I actually want to hear what you think about this. I wrote my father a letter. An actual handwritten letter. I sat at my kitchen table after Lily went to bed and I wrote it over 3 hours. I told him everything. How I felt growing up in Megan's shadow. How his comment after my divorce shattered me. How watching him laugh while Mom insulted Lily was the moment I stopped trying to earn his love. I told him I wasn't angry, and honestly by that point I wasn't. I was just sad. Sad that my dad chose pride over his daughter and granddaughter. And at the end of the letter I wrote, the door is open, Dad. But I'm done walking through it to get to you. If you want a relationship with me and Lily, you know where we are. I mailed it on a Thursday. By Saturday Megan told me he'd read it. She said she walked into their house and found him sitting in his recliner with the letter in his lap, just staring at the wall. He didn't say anything to her about it. Not one word. And then silence. Weeks of silence from my father. During those weeks, though, good things were happening. My mom and I started sessions with Dr. Prescott. And I'm not going to pretend it was easy. The first session was brutal. My mom heard things about herself that made her flinch. I said things out loud that I'd been swallowing for decades. But we kept going. Every other Thursday, rain or shine. And slowly, something started to shift between us. My mom started showing up for Lily. Not in the big showy way. In the small ways that matter. She'd call Lily directly on the phone just to ask about her day. She came to Lily's school art show and stood in front of every single piece Lily had on display and asked her about the techniques she used. She told Lily in front of other parents, my granddaughter is the artist in this family. Lily beamed. Actually beamed. And Megan became this unexpected bridge between all of us. She'd check on me, check on Mom, try occasionally with Dad. Travis started bringing Cody and Nora over to my place so the cousins could spend time together without the weird grandparent tension. Our little family unit started looking different. Not perfect, but healthier. Then, about 2 months after everything blew up, something happened that I still think about almost every day. It was a Sunday morning. I was making pancakes. Lily's request, she's obsessed with blueberry pancakes, and there was a knock at the door. I figured it was Megan, she sometimes drops by on Sundays. It was my dad, Richard, standing on my porch. He looked like he'd aged 10 years. He was holding my letter, the actual letter, creased and worn like he'd been carrying it around. And folded inside it was Lily's watercolor painting. The sunset over the lake. The one she'd hidden in her drawer. My mom must have taken a photo of it and printed it for him, or maybe Grandma June sent it, I still don't know. He didn't say anything at first. He just stood there. And then this man, this stubborn, stone-faced, pride-over-everything man, his chin started trembling. And he said in this broken voice I had literally never heard before, I don't know how to do this, Brooke. I don't know how to say I'm sorry. Nobody ever taught me how. And you know what? I believed him. Not because it excused anything, but because I looked at my father and I saw for the first time not a villain. Just a man who never learned how to love out loud. A man whose own father probably never said, "I'm sorry" either. And the cycle just kept going and going until someone was brave enough to break it. I stepped onto the porch and hugged him. He held on to me like I was the only solid thing in his world. And he whispered, "Tell Lily her painting is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." He stayed for pancakes. He sat next to Lily and asked her about every single color she used in that painting. He was awkward and clumsy and clearly had no idea what he was doing. But he was there. He was trying. Is everything perfect now? Oh, my dad still has a long way to go. He's not great at feelings and he probably never will be. My mom and I still have hard days in therapy. There are 36 years of stuff to unpack and that takes time. But here's what I know for sure. My daughter knows she is valued. She knows her mother will fight for her. She knows her grandmother is learning to be better. And she knows her grandfather, awkward, stubborn, difficult grandfather, thinks her painting is the most beautiful thing he's ever seen. Grandma June, by the way, put that watercolor on her refrigerator just like she promised. It's still there. She sends me photos of it sometimes with messages like, "Tell my great-granddaughter her art makes me smile every single morning." And Derek, my ex, I did eventually write him back. I kept it short. I said, "Thank you for saying that about Lily. She's lucky to have people who see her." He didn't respond and that's okay. Some things don't need a whole conversation. Sometimes a moment of decency is enough. Last week Lily painted a new watercolor. So our whole family, me, her, Megan, Travis, Cody, Nora, Grandma June, Grandpa Earl, my mom and yes my dad. Everyone standing together under a big sky full of color. She taped it to the wall above her desk. She didn't hide this one. That's my story. All of it. The messy, complicated, painful, sometimes funny, mostly exhausting, ultimately hopeful truth of it. Thank you so much for listening to all of this. Honestly, it means more than you know just to share it. If you like this story, I'd really love a like. It helps more people see it. And if something about it bothered you or you would have done something differently, I genuinely want to hear that too. Drop it in the comments. Tell me what you think. Would you have forgiven your parents? Would you have sent that letter? Was I too soft? Too hard? I want to know. And if your own family has ever made you feel like you're not enough, I see you. You are enough. Your kids are enough. Don't let anyone, not even the people who are supposed to love you the most, convince you otherwise. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.